Welcome to my views and news. Thursday's first video, first news story is about the Oromo Liberation Army. OLA fighters are not known for having mortars, but some pictures are being shared of OLA fighters with mortar bombs. How did OLA acquire mortars? Secondly, Tigray forces are making some military moves. A mobilization of equipment and forces, training, digging of trenches is being reported in Tigray. Question is, where is all that happening in Tigray? And secondly, are these preparations defensive or offensive? Thirdly, a journalist in Somaliland has been released. He was serving a 2-year prison term. And fourthly, a new story from Eritrea where a singer, a veteran fighter is pleading for help. He's suffering from a disease and he is badly in need of help. Details for you. Firstly, viewers, Oromo Liberation Army fighters are not known for having mortars, drones, artillery pieces, tanks. They are armed with rifles mostly. That is why they can easily change their position from one area to the other area. That is why it's difficult to completely control Oromo Liberation Army and OLA fighters keep on changing their positions. Gradually, they're trying to acquire modern weaponry used by armies. Some pictures are being shared of OLA fighters showing them with mortars. Mortar bombs can be seen in these pictures. The pictures are reportedly from West Walega, where we know that there have been clashes between OLA and government forces, Ethiopian National Defense Force, for months, if not years. And here OLA fighters captured some mortars from Ethiopian National Defense Force, it seems. It's not that OLA bought these mortars. Reportedly, they captured these mortar bombs in a fight against Ethiopian National Defense Force. You can see the pictures on your screen of mortars, Azerbaijani mortars, Azerbaijan-made mortars, Chinese mortars can be seen, Iranian rifles can be seen. So it's not just drones which Iran exported to Ethiopia. Iran last year sold other types of weapons to Ethiopia. Iran, Turkey, UAE. We monitored flights from these three countries to Ethiopia last year. Dozens of flights were monitored. They were spotted by experts. So Ethiopian weaponry is now Iranian, Turkish, and Chinese, obviously. While fighters gradually arming themselves, but again I'm saying that OLA is not an army. Tigray Defense Force was turning into an army. It was close to be a full-fledged army. It had tanks, it had artillery pieces, it had anti-tank guided missiles, manpads, mortars, and TDF could not continue armed resistance. We saw that TDF had to make concessions and the parties signed an agreement. TPLF agreed to surrendering of heavy and light arms. OLA does not have any heavy arms to surrender. It has only rifles and some of these mortars. Difficult to say what's going to happen in this ongoing conflict between OLA and government forces in Oromia. It's a different conflict. from Tigray conflict. Secondly, viewers, military movements of Tigray forces are being seen on the ground in Tigray. Though the two sides signed a peace deal last month, they have held two sessions. They signed two agreements, one in Pretoria, other one in Kenya, and they are meeting in Nairobi, Kenya, right now as well. They started meetings yesterday. 3-day-long meetings will be held in Nairobi, Kenya. At the same time, some military moves are also being seen in Tigray. Three types of military moves are being seen. Firstly, Tigray is reportedly sending its armed fighters to border areas like Waghemra Tigray border, like Afar Tigray border, like Raya and other parts of Tigray border. In these border areas, armed Tigray fighters are being sent and their trenches are being dug, firstly. Secondly, mobilization of Tigray military and Tigray military trucks and vehicles is being reported from Mekelle in western direction towards the central Tigray, towards Abyei, towards other areas close to Abyei. And thirdly, trainings are also being reported, which I reported in a previous video as well 2 days ago, I think. Trainings being reported to in some areas. So trainings, mobilization of military equipment, and digging of trenches. How to sum up these developments? I personally think these preparations are defensive in nature, not offensive. If peace talks failed, we could see start of a major military offensive from Eritrean ENDF Amhara forces on Tigray. That is why maybe some defensive preparations are underway. It's not that TDF is going to attack Amhara region or other parts. What I have understood is that preparations are there. Preparations are largely defensive in nature. Thirdly, viewers, a journalist who was put in prison more than 2 years ago in Somaliland was released today. His name is Abdimalik Coldoon. He was serving a 2-year prison term and he was released in Hargeisa a few hours ago. He is a journalist, a philanthropist, an activist, and more than 2 years ago, he accused some institutions of spreading Christianity in Somaliland. He was arrested in Hargeisa and put in prison. He was sentenced for 2 years in prison and he is now out of prison. Popular journalist and activist for his religious views as well. And I don't think he will sit silent. He will continue his activities. We could see him back in action in coming days. He's out of prison. And fourthly, viewers, a new story about an Eritrean artist who is pleading for financial help. His name is Ibrahim Muhammad Ali, a veteran fighter as well, EPLF fighter, and a Tigray language singer too. He was sick and he received medical support, treatment in Eritrea, and then he applied for permission to seek medical support abroad. He was allowed to go abroad and he's in Sudan these days. But he and his family are calling for financial support. He needs money to continue with his treatment in Sudan or onwards in Turkey. That is why we are hearing calls from this singer and his family for financial support. If someone wants to help Ibrahim Muhammad Ali, he can be contacted. His family members can be contacted. They are sharing social media messages on Facebook too. What is Eritrean government doing? Because this is not the first time that we are seeing an artist pleading for financial support abroad. It's some videos in the past as well about some artists who were calling for financial support for medical treatment abroad. It means though Eritrean government takes pride in having a very effective healthcare system, there are issues. I think only common diseases can be treated. When it comes to serious illnesses, cancer, other diseases, the patients have to leave Eritrea, and it needs money to get treatment for serious diseases. Eritrea needs to do a lot. Stability, yes, is one of the things which Eritrea takes pride in, but its development side is suffering. Why do people leave Eritrea? Because there are economic problems there. Freedom of expression is definitely an issue. Economic issues as well. And they leave Eritrea, they end up in the hands of smugglers. They end up in the hands of those who sell them sometimes. So responsibility lies with governments. Whether people are migrating from Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, who is responsible? Governments. But who will hold these governments accountable? People. Can people hold Isaias Afwerki accountable in Eritrea? No. This is the main point which I make in my videos. We're not against Eritrean government. We're not against Isaias Afwerki. Rulers are basically servants of people. People have right to hold them accountable. They have right to change them as well. They can select better leaders. This choice for people of Eritrea to have leaders in place of Isaias Afwerki, better leaders, is missing in Eritrea. That is what we talk about. We're not against any people, any person in particular. The problem is that people seem to be suffering. Yes, in a country, in every country, there is a class which is reaping the benefits of being in power. Majority suffering. And in developed countries, majority is not suffering. Ruling elite is not all powerful. But in underdeveloped countries, in developing countries, majority of people is suffering. Ruling elite is not suffering as much as the people. And people have no power to change the ruling elite. That is what we point out in videos about Eritrea, about other countries of Africa, Asia too. It happens across the world. Thank you for watching.